Hi, everyone, and welcome to the team behind Acoustics and Vibration at SLR. This is an exciting little series that we're doing where we're kind of exploring and interviewing and talking to some of the team members here at SLR in Canada. I'm the manager of the acoustics team, and we're going to explore some stories and the expertise of the people kind of driving our success in the team. Today, I'm actually excited to be joined by Art Kupper, who is the manager for the environmental team in our setup, who plays a pivotal role in helping me manage and encourage and mentor and from the business side of the acoustics team. I thought it would be great to get him to have a chat to talk about his kind of background, how he got into acoustics, and what he kind of does on a day to day, and just reflecting on where the team is at and the kind of things we're doing. Without further ado, let's talk to Art and say, hey, how's it going, Art?
Hey, Dan. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
We know each other fairly well now, best buds by this point. And so the thing I want to talk about first is really how you really got into the whole world of acoustics.
I did a mechanical engineering degree out of the University of Alberta here in Edmonton, where I work now. And as one of our fourth year courses, we do our vibrations and acoustics class. And that kind of piqued my interest at first. I hadn't really considered at all work in this field. I am someone who not super musical. A lot of people kind of come into it from that size, I think, as you had. And then had the option for a fifth year elective to do a more detailed acoustics and vibes class. So that was my introduction. And then try as I might, upon graduation, I could not get a job in the field. So I actually started off my career doing mechanical design for commercial and institutional HVAC and building systems. So I did that for 3 years. And then the firm that I was with had an acoustics team on their industrial side. And just from getting to know the people and colleagues and kind of, poking your nose over the cubicle wall, kind of say, hey, what's that you guys are working on? And what are these pretty pictures, these noise contours you guys have going on? So I got a chance to kind of learn a little bit about it from the periphery, and then had a chance to jump in and help out with some field surveys and some analysis. And before I knew it, I was just fully in the acoustics world.
So you've been at SLR, is it 5-ish years?
Just past 5, yeah.
Just 5, congratulations. So you joined shortly after I did. I've been here 6 years. You joined SLR, and then you were, more of like a project manager type individual, technical person. And then, over the past couple of years, you're now leading elements of the team. What do you think as a manager now, more recently, what do you think has been some of the key parts of success in that role for you?
I think fundamentally it's being able to relate to the team members. And, our team ranges in age from 21 to, I don't know, 60 something. And so you have a huge kind of range there and a bunch of different people. And I think it's just fundamentally having an interest, trying to get along and find common ground with others. And I think for me that comes a little bit naturally. I social person, like to get to know the people I work with. So that's the main thing. And then I think just being genuine, like you just being yourself and expecting the same from others, and just having that sort of basic understanding of people.
Good point. That's how I go about things. I think that's why we agree on a lot of things. And do you find that in that role, elements of things have you learned, or things you've been surprised by going through that kind of day to day as a manager?
It's funny. I think a lot of what I've learned about management, I've taken, I've been lucky to do the SLR leadership course. There's certainly a lot of very helpful things in there. And other kind of leadership training in and outside of work. You learn a lot by being a parent as well. There's situations professionally that aren't dissimilar to dealing with children, for good and bad. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just the basic things, like listening It
Mhm.
sounds really like a very basic answer, but if you just ask people questions and then just listen and let them talk, and then just try to have that empathy and put yourself in someone else's shoes, and just try to help others, whether it's dealing with a specific situation or big kind of career conversations. Just being someone there, then oftentimes you don't need to have solutions for people, but if you can just be that sounding board or just someone that they can run things past, it's helpful. So yeah, I guess a bit of combination of everything, and then just our own personal experiences. I think we've all worked with and for people that we really respected and admired, and conversely, work with and for people that had qualities that we kind of learn to not emulate.
Yeah, it's surprising what you actually learn and how your personality changes by watching people you don't want to be. I think I realized that a few years ago. Is just kind of taking the good bits of things and noticing, oh, I don't want to be like that. That's really off-putting. A little bit more technical focus. Acoustics is quite a specific industry anyway, but there's people go into branches of it within the field. What's kind of your general types of work that you've worked on over the years?
Sure. I'd say predominantly I've been involved with industrial projects, industrial clients. Having been based in Alberta for most of my career, I've done a lot of work in the oil and gas sector, from small pump stations, compressor stations, all the way to refineries and large oil and gas facilities. And then also a whole bunch of power generation. So coal-fired power plants, natural gas fired, turbine generator sets. Nowadays, we do a lot of renewables, solar and wind, and the battery storage aspects that are coming into play. So that's the bulk of what I've been doing. I think that's what I'm most excited about and comfortable with. But then also I've had exposure to quite a range, a little bit of architectural acoustics, transportation noise, land use planning, residential development. So I've been exposed to a nice breadth of work. But yeah, certainly the industrial facilities have kind of been my, I guess, bread and butter.
What's been the most significant kind of typical challenges or things that you see on those industrial sites that you could share as examples of the kind of stuff you have to go through as part of the process of, whether it's a complaint investigation or looking at a new facility? What are the main bits that tend to, crop the project up or cause issues?
Yeah, you mentioned complaint investigation. That's always interesting, and that applies, I think, generally to any kind of project. Whenever you're dealing with people, specifically, neighboring residents or impacted people, that's always challenging. Noise is certainly something that can impact your personal life, your well-being, which is one of the reasons that I enjoy it. You kind of get to help people, but it can be a challenge. There's certain times it is difficult to balance the financial aspects of a company applying mitigation with trying to satisfy every stakeholder that might be involved in a project. And then I think from a technical side, I've had a lot of interesting projects where the acoustic treatments that we sometimes apply have direct influence on the output of a project or of a piece of equipment. So, for example, if you're dealing with a large cooling tower and you need to reduce the sound levels, and you might add some silencer baffles up to the discharge, but those have an associated pressure drop, which therefore reduces the airflow, which therefore reduces the cooling capacity, which
Yep.
therefore reduces how much power you can generate or how much process can go through the system. So we're always working with our clients directly so that we can minimize any of those sort of negative consequences while still effectively, dealing with the noise, the root problem. So,
Mhm.
um, and then when you combine, uh, facilities where any kind of shutdown, it means hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars per day, per hour, with trying to be timely, trying to be cost effective, and most importantly, actually solving their problem. Like uh, those kind of challenges are can be complex, but are also, very rewarding.
I find it's very rewarding, and you notice when someone has been burned by an acoustics or noise complaint issue in the past as a client or whatever service provider, because they seem to be taking it more seriously and find more importance in it. Whereas someone that sees it as more of a tick box exercise, you can tell they've never had to deal with a bad complainant or like some issue that was a genuine grievance with the operation of a facility. So I find there is two types of buckets of people, and I find we're seeing more of the former, the people that actually have been burned in the past and want to do better and do things so they save time and money in the long run.
Oh, for sure. And that's why it's important that you have someone with that kind of holistic knowledge to help fill the gaps. Because, I mean, how often have you seen a client that just has a brochure from some vendor and it says, "Hey, my brochure says it'll knock off 20 decibels," and then you have to say, "Well, there's various reasons why that's not exactly how it's going to work." And but meanwhile, their expectations have already been set up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely helping clients with those that understanding is important as well.
In reality, it's like normally like what, a quarter of the performance you might get, especially in the architectural world. There's a lot of weird and wonderful products that are promised to make things go soundproof, which is a word I always enjoy hearing, like making noise just go away completely, which we all know is not the case in a lot of circumstances. But yeah, I find that is interesting as well. The subjective angle to me is very interesting, just around how people perceive these things. And
Absolutely.
even though you have like a same kind of sound source and situation, and you've got two people living in a similar distance, and they completely react, in a different way to each other, and it makes things challenging, but also like shows the quirks of humanity, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about the technical stuff and the managerial stuff. Like, I find it tricky too. I imagine you do. Do you have any ways of coping, balancing those two worlds, to give like tips and tricks to anyone?
So that's a challenge in itself, as you well know. It's not easy. It's something that I still work at daily. I think for me, what works well is just trying to set aside dedicated time. Booking meetings for myself where it's not a meeting, but it's just, all right, for this block of time, I'm going to work on X, and try to limit any kind of distractions or disturbances. Because when you are leading a group of people and you want to be that person that they can rely on, well, one of the impacts is that you got a lot of people calling you or sending you a quick Teams note, or can you take a look at this? Can you help me with this? Which I love doing, but it is easy to get distracted by that sort of thing. So I think that's, I guess, one of the main strategies that I use to try to, block off time, make it so that I'm busy in my calendar so that other people can try to respect that time as well. But yeah, if you have any wonderful solutions, I'm all ears, Dan, because it is a challenge for sure. You get pulled in a lot of different directions between technical delivery, business development efforts, managing people, managing an office, and all sorts of different things. So
yeah, no, I was asking for my own benefit, to be honest.
okay. Upward delegation's nice. I try that sometimes.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes. It's good.
Actually, but delegation's a hard one sometimes, and we see it a lot with our team members, where oftentimes it's easier to just say, "Oh, I'll just do it myself. It'll be faster than explaining to someone or showing someone," and that might work on a one-off. But if you can take the time to show someone, to train someone, then you have a support team behind you that can help when you have other priorities. So I suppose that's the other kind of long-term play, which is very good.
Also, the side benefit of that is that person, I think, becomes empowered, trusted, and they have a good time, working on stuff that we did in our earlier stages of our career, and it's giving them exposure. And I think once you see that side of things, it becomes easier. But you're also cognizant of not giving things away to people that makes it so they have too much on their plate. And so that's the balance to be struck, which is always a challenge. But so finally, looking ahead, this isn't meant to be like a mid-year review thing. What are your kind of goals for the team and for your own professional development? What do you think you want to do in the next little while for your career?
I think for my career, I want to continue developing that leadership side. I've only been in a leadership role for a few years here. It's not like I am a seasoned expert manager or team lead or anything. So I think there's lots of room for me to kind of develop those skills, and then just work more in terms of the bigger picture, business development, group strategy kind of ideas, while still finding the balance of being involved technically. I do like doing the technical work. I do like putting together a acoustic model and recommending mitigation, like and somehow finding a way to fit that within my my rates. So yeah, that's medium term for me. And then I think the other goal that I have is, it might be cheesy, but it's just to see our team are like on an individual level. I want to see them reach their goals, and I want to help them do that. And for me, if the guys that we have working on our team now can continue developing and increasing their capabilities and their confidence and their skills, like that will be a success for me, to see them develop.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most rewarding things for me in this field and in the job, is you get to impart some kind of wisdom, if you want, or just experience relaying of, this is what happened to me and this is how I handle it, and kind of working through that stuff together, and watching people become self-sufficient through some of the techniques that you've learned through trial and error and mistakes, and trying to just help them not going through the same thing fully, but then also trying to let them have the freedom to make mistakes, be free to explore, and so then they can figure out their own path. I quite like watching that all come together and see that kind of team spirit foster and develop, and definitely seen it coming together the past couple of years, and more people wanting to join the team, and it's all great, and it's great to be a part of and see everyone come together. So thanks, Art. That's all I really had to ask you today. I think this has been great just to find out a little bit more about you, and the viewers can take a listen and watch. And if you have any questions for either myself or Art, feel free to reach out and drop us a message on LinkedIn or drop us an email or something. So yeah, your experience, Art, shared today has been great. It shows that you care about the team, and I look forward to seeing how you continue to shape the future of acoustics at SLR. So thanks, Art, for your time.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Dan.
And thanks everyone for listening and watching. And yeah, we'll see you in the next little episode of this one. Thanks so much.
Bye now.